Hello, happiness abounders, and welcome back. Today I want to talk all about our ability to focus the mind and intellectual self-care by being with our own thoughts. Now, I've spoken before about emotional buffering, but very similar, very same vein, is that everything we use for emotional buffering are the things that we use to buffer our own thoughts. The things that we do so that we don't have to really be alone with ourselves. But one of the key components of intellectual self-care is, who are you when it's just you and your thoughts? You get a really strong opportunity to get to know yourself and get to really see what it is that you are like. What are you like when there's no Facebook to be scrolling through? What are you like when there's no TV to be binge watching? What thoughts do you have, and how can you get to know yourself better? The true form of self-care. So when we look at intellectual self-care as a way of being alone, that of course turns to meditation, right? Using meditation to focus the mind so that you can be alone with your thoughts and be okay with that. Now, for some of us, and I say us because I feel this way too sometimes, the thought of sitting down and meditating drives me crazy. Like, I have way too many things to do. I just can't sit there and do nothing. And anytime there's I'm going to say forced mindfulness activity, something at work or anywhere where it's kind of a forced mindfulness activity, I fidget. I don't like not doing something. And I've really had to change my mindset around that and understand that it's not about being busy. And just like everything else, in all of the self-care areas and realms, I have to set aside the time and identify it as self-care. So one of the things that I do when my brain is going a million miles a minute is I will sit down in silence or have very mellow, quiet music going on, and I will just write. Meditation doesn't have to be sitting there with your eyes closed, palms up, and taking deep breaths. I think that's fantastic, and yes, but sometimes we have to work our way up to that point. But the point is to focus the mind as a form of intellectual self-care. So like I said, I will sit down and I will just write. So it's silence, it's focused, it's me and the pen and the paper, and I'm really getting that deep dive into who I am as a form of intellectual self-care without an outlet, or with an outlet, as opposed to without an outlet, which I would get if I was just normally meditating. And I prefer that way because then I can get everything out and then feel calm, as opposed to sitting there being like, well, I got to think about this, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about this, and come back into focus. I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about this, and come back into focus. And I want to remember those things that I was thinking about because I think that they're important to think about and remember. So having the pen and paper there really helps me do that, get it out, and then come back to center. So there's different ways of meditating. And I think it's important to identify the ways that work for you. Another thing that really helps me is specific guided meditations. It helps me keep my brain on track and helps me feel like I'm accomplishing something. Whereas just sitting there, deep breaths, I feel like I really struggle with it. But I do see and identify that it is a form of intellectual self-care to be alone with yourself and see who you are in those instances. But it's also important to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Because going back to our first episode of this week, focusing on learning and growing and then journaling about our learnings, which was yesterday's episode, part of that is being a beginner. But also part of being a beginner is doing what works for you and finding something that connects with you in the way you need it to, not in the way other people are telling you to do it. One of the hardest things for me with meditation is that it seems like everyone's doing it and I struggle with it. But I struggle with it in the way that other people do it versus the way that I have found works for me. So I want to encourage you to find the way that works for you. Don't worry about that beginner mentality. Focus on the learning and growing and try new things out. Find and focus on what feels good, what feels meditative, and what helps you focus your mind, come back into alignment, and discover who you really are when it's just you and your thoughts. So that's today's episode. Really short, quick, and easy, but I want to again challenge you to think about that meditation as a form of intellectual self-care, but also think about meditation for what it means to you, not what it means to me or not what it means to other people, but really what it can mean for you to come in, focus your mind, get realigned, and discover who you are when you're not trying to distract yourself from your thoughts with buffering techniques like TV or gaming or scrolling through social media. So I hope that this episode resonated with you. I want to take a few extra minutes in today's episode to also talk about something I don't really highlight a ton, which is my mentoring programs. Don't know if you're aware, but I am a certified transformational happiness mentor, which is one of the reasons I can talk about all of these amazing facets and assets towards our happiness. And I'm really excited to share that I am offering one-on-one mentoring classes and entire programs set to help you take things to the next level. So if these podcast episodes have helped you and you want to take things to those next level beyond just a few minutes every morning, but an hour a week to really dive in and have customized mentoring to help you achieve your goals, break through those mindsets and blocks, and really take things to those next levels, I want to encourage you to go to happinessabound.com, check the top navigation, click on mentoring, and give it a look. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I would love the chance to work with you. If the podcast has helped you, let's take things to the next level. So all of that said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me talk about mentoring. I hope you will check it out at happinessabound.com. You can send me a message and ask questions at happinessabound.com in the contact form, at Happiness Abound blog on Facebook, or happiness_abound on Instagram. So I hope to hear from you. I hope that this episode has changed your thoughts towards meditating and focusing your mind. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. And above everything else, remember, you are capable of happiness abound.